And welcome to another episode of the Quotes and Mirrors podcast. I am Tyrell James.
And I am Uncommonterry, and this is episode 4. Right?
No. And you know what's funny? Last
Nope.
week you said you were like bragging about counting.
I thought it was 3.
No, that was 4 last week. We on 5.
You sure?
I'm sure.
I had to write. Where'd I write stuff down? I'm gonna have to look it up.
Yeah,
Make sure.
and so you were bragging about knowing which one it was. And I was talking about how I didn't know, and you were bragging about knowing.
Did I know last week though? But did I know last week?
You knew last week, but this week you didn't.
I did. It's 5, right?
oh yeah, you're right. There you go.
Yeah, there you go. Well, for those of you that don't know, any new listeners, what we do here is we're gonna find a quote. It could be by me, by him, by a passerby in the street. Could come out of a book. It doesn't really matter. We're going to pick it up. We're going to put it on the screen as you can see it running across the bottom there. And we're going to go ahead and break it down, break it out, dissect it, look at it from a couple of different angles, lift up the hood and that type of thing. So welcome to our show today. I actually chose this quote. I was supposed to choose it last week and I didn't because I'm a rebel.
AKA procrastinator.
Emphasis on the pro, okay? But today's quote: anything you don't have, you don't want bad enough. Now, where did that come from, by the way? You know what? Honestly, it was either DMX or is it something that came to me while I was listening to DMX.
Okay.
But it's one of those two things. One of those two things is true. So we often do kind of a debate situation, but we might even be on the same side of the issue. I believe this 100%. Anything you don't want bad enough. In 2022, why I look at my watch, I don't know. But in 2022, at this point, we have had people in the last 20 years that was born a black man and could die a white woman. Right? Because that's what they wanted to do. Right? From skin bleaching to
shout out to Michael Jackson. He did that.
You know what I mean?
I love Michael. I love Michael. He's the greatest. But he was born a black man and died a white woman.
That's exactly what happened. Okay. Raise your hand if that's who you had in mind when I made that statement. Okay. Though for the listeners, both of us had our hands raised. But I believe this 100%. Seriously, just because even me just being a procrastinator or whatever, when you got to really be real with yourself. If you don't have it, whatever it is, can you really say that you want it bad enough? You know what I mean? I'm asking you.
Oh, I'm going to be honest with you. I absolutely hate this quote.
Really?
Yeah, I hate it. The first time, I heard this, of course, years ago. And I absolutely hated it. I hated it.
Why?
Because there are certain things that no matter how hard you try to get it, if it's not for you, then you're not going to get it. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't necessarily matter how much you want it. If you don't have it, for instance, let's take the kid who wants to be an athlete. They want to be a basketball player, but they don't have the skills to play basketball, but they want it so badly. They keep going out there. They keep messing up and they keep getting benched or they just don't make the team because they're not good enough. It doesn't mean that they don't want it. It just means that you're not good enough.
I don't know, because for that to be true, you would have to, you hear cats say all the time, all people ever told me was that I couldn't do it, that I wasn't good enough. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But those aren't the people that quit. Those are the people that succeeded because they didn't quit, because they actually did want it. Like they was willing to go for it just straight up. it ain't going like matter of fact, like we talked about on the last episode. They rain danced it. Bottom line, the rain dance works 100% of the time because they don't stop dancing until it rains.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So if you want it, you want to play basketball, and I mean, Spud Webb was what 5'8" in the league.
He was shorter than that.
Was he?
Was like 5'5", 5'4", something like that.
You sure, Spud?
Yeah. I'll look it up.
I know Bugsy was small.
I think Muggsy was like 5'3".
I'm glad you said Muggsy because when I said Bugsy, I was apparently talking about somebody else.
Straight gangster. When you said Bugsy.
I did. I changed his color, his height, his nationality, all that.
Yeah, no, Spud Webb was 5'6".
Word?
Yeah.
Come on, man. That man wanted it. What did he do? Not only did he get to the NBA, the cat won a slam dunk contest.
Yeah, but when it's okay, all right. Let's be honest about that slam dunk contest. When you're 5'6", people aren't expecting you to be able to dunk.
Mm-hmm.
So when you do it,
right,
everybody's just blown away.
Yep. As well.
I'm not trying to take anything away from him, but was it really the best dunk in the dunk contest?
Was it really the best dunk in the dunk contest?
Yeah. Or was everybody just excited because a 5'6" dude dunked?
I'm gonna go with the latter, sir, and that's gonna be enough, as a matter of fact, because he was 5'6", son. You know, I mean, the fact that he could actually dunk at all with a real basketball, not one of them little joints you used to have in the back. You know what I mean? When he was a kid, this cat, 5'6". A regulation goal is what, 10 feet up?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this cat, he basically doubled himself.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Who's doing that? Who's doing that?
Somebody that wanted it bad enough.
There you go.
But
what?
He ain't the only 5'6" dude that wanted it that bad.
I think so, because he's the only one that got it.
I don't think he's the only one. I mean, because see, the thing is, still. So here's the thing. This is the other reason I don't like the quote. Because you're speaking for somebody else's desire, somebody else's thought process, and their wants. You can't speak for somebody else and what they want and how they desire something. I mean, okay, I tell you what, let's look at it like this. What about the man who wants the woman, but she doesn't want him?
Mm-hmm.
You can want her bad. You want her bad enough, you're going to jail for that.
Yeah.
But if you don't have her, it's not because you didn't want her bad enough.
No, I think so. I think so. Because, and this is going to get real ridiculous. All right.
Okay.
This is going to get real ridiculous. It's going to be using words like basement and kidnap. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean?
And this is the episode where we get canceled.
I'm just saying, man, that the thing is, the truth be told, all right, if you're willing to push it, a cat can't really stop you from doing what it is that you want to do. You're going to run into some hurdles if you decide you want it so bad that you got to break some laws and you got to hurt some people or, you know, that type of thing. But I'm not condoning that type of behavior. I'm simply saying that if you know, anything that you truly want, you find yourself not even just consistently motivated, but continually. Like, even if you hit a valley, cool. It's just a valley. You keep pushing. You keep pushing. You keep pushing. You know what I mean? I'm sorry. I believe 100%. And I'm also being honest with myself, right? Like, I want to lose weight. Do I? Do I? Because what's stopping me? What's stopping me? And that's what you got to think about.
I don't think it's a lack of desire that is stopping you. I think you want it bad enough. I think it's a lack of motivation.
Well, what's the difference?
There's a difference between desire and motivation.
Okay. Go ahead and draw the line.
You can want something,
Mm-hmm.
and as badly as you want it, there may be something inside of you that's preventing you from having the motivation to get out there and to get it. It could be fear,
Mm-hmm.
it could be overthinking.
Mm-hmm.
There could be a number of things that could prevent you from doing it that could stand in the way of that motivation. But the desire to do it, and you got to keep in mind, I'm a personal trainer. I speak to people all the time who have the desire to lose weight,
Mm-hmm.
but they aren't necessarily motivated.
Because that's where they don't want it bad enough.
No,
That's what
they
I'm
want
saying.
it.
Nope.
They want it.
They don't want it. They don't want it bad enough. That's what I'm saying. You don't want it bad enough for whatever that thing is that's standing in your way to be hurdled or to be moved to the side or some way. You got to find a way around, up, under, or through that situation, or you don't want it bad enough.
Okay,
That's it.
so I tell you what. In that, I will give you that. But if
Mm-hmm.
we go back to understanding that there are certain times, no matter how bad you want something, maybe it's outside of your grasp. You can't get. You know what? I'm gonna give you a perfect example. Check this out.
Yeah.
There was years ago. There was this girl, this woman. She wanted me.
Oh boy.
She said, "I will stop at nothing to get you." Matter of fact, hold on.
Hold on a second.
This has been a long time ago, right? Let me see
Yeah.
about.
I hope it was ways back. You about to go into some type of narcissistic rant here?
No, like I don't. Can you? I don't know if you can see this. Can you see? Look, I'm even
I,
showing the phone number, but I don't care.
what would you
Can,
say?
can you see the?
I can barely see it, but I guarantee you the listeners can't see it.
Oh, right. Okay, for the
Oh,
listeners.
it says I'm crazy. Don't answer.
Yep.
Wow.
I got her logged into my phone as I'm crazy, don't answer. Yo, this was probably back. We're talking about like 2004,
Mm-hmm.
like 2000, like back then, and I still have this number logged into my phone as I'm crazy, don't answer. Right.
Where's
So
she now?
I don't know. I haven't spoken to her since 2004,
Well,
but
if you can't call her out the next room, then she ain't want you bad enough.
nah, she wanted me bad enough, and she tried. She used to work across the street from me. She worked. I was working at a bank. She was working at a bank across the street from me,
Mm-hmm.
and she would come into my bank. She would sit there. There would be times that I would be out like for lunch or something, and then I come back, and she's just sitting at my desk. Well, on the side that the customer sat on. She wasn't sitting in my chair.
Right.
She'd be sitting in my desk, and I'm like, "Yo, what you doing?" She was like, "I told you I ain't gonna stop at nothing to get you." I was like, "You should stop." You should stop at something to get me. You're not getting me. But she showed me over and over and over and over that she wanted it, that she wanted me that bad, but she didn't get me.
She ain't want it bad enough.
She did want it bad enough. I didn't want it at all.
If she wanted you bad enough, she'd have kidnapped you. If she wanted you bad enough, when she sat across your desk, you'd have came back to your desk and she'd have put something in your drink. You know what I mean? So something that would have had you look at her a whole different length. And
So what you're saying is you have to go to drastic measures, sometimes illegal measures.
now I'm not condoning, all right. I'm not condoning, nor am I promoting that you take actions that are other than legal or even other than moral for that matter. But I am saying, all right, that you do have to respect the undying motivation and a cat that's willing to stop at nothing to get where he's trying to go. Nothing.
Yo,
You know what I mean?
okay, but here's the thing. Let's say she did kidnap me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then what? I still got to. I have to. I have to give in order for her to get what she wants. I have to give in. I'm not giving in. I'm fighting every step of the way. You kidnapping me. I'm fighting every step of the way.
I mean, she could kidnap you, she could drug you. This is not really the route that I wanted to take, right? But, but you know, I mean, I don't know what in the Cosby is going on right now. But the thing is, if that's what she really wanted, then she would take those measures. She would sit back and take a look, do a little bit of research, and take those measures. But what I'm saying is, okay, because outside of that silliness, because that's just ridiculous, right? You decide you go when you if you gonna get to there is a such thing as I don't want to say too far because that would contradict what I'm talking about right here, right? But there is such thing. There is a line to be crossed, right?
Mhm.
But this is primarily, to motivate the reasonable individual. Truth be told, because in most instances, the only thing stopping you is you, right? You have limitations that you set on yourself. In many instances, they are moral and legal or whatever the situation. But most instances, the only thing stopping you is you. When I look at the weight that I've gained and the weight that I want to lose, the only thing stopping me is me. My wife ain't like, well, I need you to do this, so now I don't have time. My kids ain't pulling on me, so now I don't have time. My job is not so demanding that I don't have time. It's just me. I don't want to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I don't want to get up at 4:30 in the morning. I would like to lose weight, but I would like to truly lose weight. And by that I mean, you know how you lose something and you don't know it's gone till it's gone. I would love to wake up and be like, what the I know I had 25 pounds. I know I did. You know what I'm saying? I would love for that to be the circumstance, but that's not really happens, right? So because I'm not willing to get up at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning and do that workout. I'm not willing to stay up late and do the workout. We can wipe the time frame away. I'm not willing to do the workout, right? Or the work period. So I don't have it. So do I really want it? Nah. I prefer because it's a decision either way. You really are saying what you do want when you know what I mean, when you're not pursuing what you don't want. You're saying this is where I'd rather be. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I just sit here. Mediocrity is comfortable. It's convenient. You know what I mean? No, it's low expectations. Nobody really wants anything from me. Yeah, all right, I'm here, and I can deal with the complaints even if they come. But
Mhm.
so that's what you're saying you want. So I just believe 100%. If you ain't got it, you don't want it bad enough. Like I said, come on, man. Them cats, you nothing against LBGTQ, right? But they have made up their minds that this is, regardless of the fact that anatomically I was born a male, female. They have made up their minds to accept the distinction of sex as a social construct, right? They have made up their minds that they're going to live in opposition to that social construct, and you can't stop them. And now what? Now you got laws that say, you know, in the workplace, you express your pronouns, and I have to respect that. You know what I mean? Because it's truly what they wanted. And I'm just saying, it ain't always the best thing for everybody once you necessarily achieve it. But if you really want it, ain't nothing gonna stop you.
Okay, so in using that example, so like you said, there are laws that are in place right now, right? You have people on both sides of this.
Right.
You have people who believe that you use the LGBTQ community, but I think what you were really going with the people who may have been born as one thing but identify as something else.
Yeah, but because
Okay,
I don't want to make any I don't want to isolate anybody. You know what I mean?
gotcha.
So
Okay,
I kind of make it a broad stroke. But go ahead.
okay. So you have people who feel as though they were born as something, but they identify as something else, or
Hmm.
maybe they felt this that they feel as though that's how they were born,
Hmm.
and regardless of how everybody else sees them, this is how they identify, right?
Hmm.
Like you said, there are laws in place. But there are
Mm-hmm.
people on both sides of this. There are people who believe you are what you were born as, and then there are people who believe well, I am different than what you say I was born as, right?
Right, right.
So on both sides, both sets of people have wants.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's one group of people that want this law to be passed saying, okay, we have things such as gender neutral bathrooms or just understanding that somebody has the ability to say, or the right to say, yes, I may have been born a man, but I am a woman, I identify as a woman. But you
Mm-hmm.
have people who have the opposite viewpoint on that. Is it really a matter of whose desire or whose want is stronger when it comes to that?
What do you mean? Because both of them, I mean, the situation is that both have achieved in their own lane. You know what I
Well,
mean?
I'm talking about as the law. I'm talking about if there are laws passed and it says these people can say, hey, look, I was born a man, but I identify as a woman.
Mm-hmm.
And there are other people that are saying, nah, I don't believe that.
Mm-hmm.
Are you saying the people that say, I don't believe that, like their want wasn't bad enough?
You mean because the laws were put in place?
Right.
Yeah, I would have to say that the motivation to get it done is like, for instance, like because the law's in place, that don't mean you got to stop. Because that situation could be overturned. That situation can be taken back. You know what I mean? The same. It's a law. It's on paper. It's written. It could be erased as easily as it's inked. You know what I'm
Okay,
saying?
so if it does get erased, so now does that mean that the other side now they don't want it bad enough?
I think that you're missing the point because the truth of the matter in this quote is you don't stop until you get it.
Right,
So
but you have
whatever that
two
fight
different
is,
sides that's going after something. And are you saying just because one side got it, it doesn't mean that the other side didn't want it bad enough?
I think so.
Okay, let's look at presidency then. You really think that the people that voted for one side didn't really want their person to be the president?
Well, I mean, when you consider the presidency and how that actually happened, and we can't go too far into that because I got to stay in the shallow end of that conversation. I ain't gonna lie
Right.
to you because I'm not horribly educated in that matter, but I do know that there is an electoral college, and that you expect that they would go with the popular vote for the state that they're in, but the popular vote and the actual vote, there's definitely a difference there. Where just because you got the most votes, you got the most votes of the people, but you didn't get the most votes from the electoral college. You know what I mean?
Okay, I tell you what, let's take it off the president of the United States. Let's say a president of a company, and let's say the
Mm-hmm.
employees of this company have to vote on who the president is going to be. It
Okay.
doesn't so if one side wins, it doesn't mean that the other side didn't want it bad enough.
Yeah, that's exactly what it means.
No, that's not what it means. So the point that I'm making is that sometimes there are things that are out of your control.
Nah, because the thing is, just because you lost that, you ain't the president right now, don't mean you won't ever be the president. Don't stop, homie.
Now
Don't stop.
we talking about right now though.
But when you say we talking about right now,
Like
what you
we talking
mean?
about who became the president. So if you became the president right now, I wanted somebody else to be the president. And me and all of the people that voted for this other person, we wanted them to be the president right now.
Mm-hmm.
And we did everything that we could.
And it
And we
wasn't
put
enough.
our wants, our desires. Yeah, it wasn't enough, but it doesn't mean that we didn't want it enough.
I,
It just means that there were more people on the other side that wanted it.
then that means that's enough.
Right.
That's
But it
enough.
doesn't
There
mean
was there was enough of them that wanted it. That's
exactly.
what came to pass.
But that does not mean that we didn't want it enough. It
It
just means that there
does.
was more of them.
No, it because it does mean like you didn't do what you needed to do to convince, to convert, whatever the situation. And on the next go around, maybe that's what you do. Now you campaign different. Maybe you get another candidate. I don't know. Whatever the situation is, that you just don't stop.
Yeah, but it's hard to make people change their viewpoints. I mean, you got to look at it like when we come now. If we go back to the president of the United States, a lot of times you have Republicans and Democrats. A lot of times there is a mindset with Democrats that is completely different than the mindset of Republicans, and it's hard
Mhm.
to get Republicans to think like Democrats and vice versa.
Right. I understand that.
So it's not necessarily about me trying to make you think like me. It's about how many of us is it and how many of y'all is it?
I mean, I understand that, but that's like when you were speaking, to the present, to the moment. All right, cool. I lost this one. I mean, I'm gonna stop. That's in any situation. You're gonna take a L. We're not talking about you achieving perfection. You're gonna take a L one way or the other, and over again. You're gonna take a L. But if you want it bad enough, can't nobody stop you. If you want it bad enough, can't nobody stop you, homie.
I don't believe that. Now, I think that is now. I'll say this. I think that is an incredible lesson for children
Hmm.
to tell them if you want something bad enough, you stop at nothing until you get it.
Right?
But as you get older and and you have to deal with reality, the reality is fact of the matter is there's certain things you're not going to be able to get. For instance, this woman, I don't even remember her name. All I know is that in my phone it says I'm crazy, don't answer. It didn't matter how bad it didn't matter how bad she wanted me. She was not going to get me. It didn't matter
She's
what she did. She threw money at me. Yo, she threw. Yo,
yo.
I probably shouldn't have held my phone up, but it showed the phone number. Although this was years ago, so she probably doesn't have the same phone number. But
Ain't
but
nobody calling
still,
a woman that's in your phone as I'm crazy. Don't worry about it. Don't worry. Ain't nobody taking that number like, ooh, I'm about to check her out. No, don't even worry about it. That's not what's happening. But
you
she stopped though.
said she stopped.
Yeah, she stopped.
They had no choice.
She had a choice.
You're right. You're right. She did have a choice. She did have a choice. But it's only so many times you can hear no before you start to say, okay, even though I want this really, really bad, it's not going to happen.
I'm
You
not
got to
saying
be
you don't
honest with
want it.
yourself.
I'm not saying you don't want it. I'm saying you don't want it bad enough. You're
Yeah,
not
well,
willing to do. You're
she
not willing
wanted
to
it bad
do.
enough.
Nope, she didn't, because she ain't do anything she could do.
Like, yo, okay, the only thing that she could have done is be somebody that I wanted, and she couldn't do that.
I mean, she could have, I don't know that that's the only thing that she could have done. People transfer themselves all the time for that purpose.
That's, I'm telling you, that's the only thing she could have done.
I'm just saying, people transform themselves all the time for that purpose, and not necessarily for just deciding just to be fake. You can have a cat that that basically is what would socially be identified as a knucklehead, and he just decided to switch lanes. When he do, people they beat him up. All of a sudden, he's showing up in khakis and loafers and button downs, and they're like, "Who is this dude?" But if he chooses to change, you know what I mean, then because that's what it takes for him to get where he's going, then he's just willing to do what he got to do because he wanted bad enough. That's
That's
it,
different.
man.
You see, so I think you can do, if you want something bad enough, you do what you can do within your power to make it happen. But if there are things that are outside of your power, then you can't control those things. There are certain things you can have a burning desire for something, but if it's not meant for you, then you're not going to get it. It's just
I,
not going to happen.
well, so what's enough? What's enough? If I truly I haven't gotten it, I haven't gotten what I want, and
Mhm.
I still want it. You're saying to me that I want it, but I haven't gotten it. I've tried long enough. Don't worry about it. There's no other way. There's no other route to take. There's no other way to think about it. it is officially impossible.
Mhm. Yeah, when you have exhausted your mental, your emotional, your financial resources, when all of that is gone, and at this point, the only thing you are left with is you and the mirror. And you got to have that hard conversation with yourself and say, listen, this is probably unattainable. I can't do this. I've tried, I've given my all. And at some point, you have to be honest with yourself and understand that this, for instance, I wanted to be a basketball player, I wanted to be a football player. I I just didn't keep on growing and get big enough to even consider those things. But you know what I could do? I could box. So I went, I said, I'm gonna do what I can do. And you gotta so sometimes so and but the desire was there. I wanted it. I wanted it bad, but it didn't work for me. It didn't
I,
work for me.
I,
So I had to
you
figure out something else.
you didn't want it bad enough. If you
Yeah,
did, if you wanted it bad enough, there wouldn't have been a something else that could take its place.
no, there was something else that needed to take its place because I
But
had to
that
be honest with myself about the fact that I ain't no basketball player, I ain't no football player. I can fight though.
Okay, but you don't have to be the basketball player or the football player by nature. You can still push yourself to that point. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, honestly, if you take on the perspective that you just expressed, then you don't have movies like The Pursuit of Happiness. That wasn't supposed to rhyme, but I'm nice. So, this, but then you don't have movies like that. You don't have a movie is what was it in like a subway station, just him and his son.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And he can't think to himself, all right, I give up. He got a baby right there next to him, living and breathing based on what he has to do for him. So I
Mhm.
can't so he can't say, it's not on me. It's not on me. I can't push it. I can't push it. I've done everything I can. I can't sell this machine. I can't
Mhm.
get the parts so that I can sell this machine. He can't stop there. And he didn't stop there. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just if you really want it, son, ain't nothing ain't nothing gonna stop you. Like how could you even promote that to any like yo, after after the 10th time, homie, just let it ride. You know what I mean?
So, all right, so let's look at it like this. God gives us gifts.
Mm-hmm.
If God has given me the gift of creativity, which he did,
Mm-hmm.
and I spend so much of my life trying to be a basketball player,
Mm-hmm.
and I want that badly,
Mm-hmm.
it's not going to happen. Now, God may not come to me directly and say, listen, that ain't the gift that I gave you. I don't care how bad you want this, but it's not going to happen. But things are going to happen. Things are going to continue to happen until I realize it doesn't matter how badly I want this, this is not going to work for me because this isn't the path that God has me on. So a lot of times our wants and God's plan are not aligned.
True enough, but the problem with that logic is that you would have to assume that everybody is only doing what God wants them to do, and they are not. The majority are not living and walking the path that God would have for them. They're not. That's why you got free will. He doesn't give you free will and then only he doesn't tell you it's a multiple choice question, multiple choice test, and then only have himself as the choice. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So it's not happening. You know what I mean?
But
But it's about it's. But see, in a situation like that, if I want to be a basketball player, I want to play basketball. I want it, and nothing is gonna stop me. Uh-oh, I just got in a car accident. I'm paralyzed from the legs from the waist down.
mhm.
How could I possibly play basketball? You mean there's a wheelchair league? I'm about to bang this out. Uh-oh. Now I don't know. Here we go further tragic. Now I can't. Uh, an accident or something with a surgery on a tendon in my hand or something, and now I can't play. Right?
Mhm.
If you true, I'm sorry, it's just a matter of twisting it to where, like, somehow I'm going to achieve this. Long story short, that cat that ends up paralyzed, can't walk no more. Now he's in a wheelchair, maybe loses the function of his arm or his fingers or something like that. Now this cat could, all right, cool. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna design a basketball game
Yeah, but he
where I
didn't
can.
play it though.
He is though.
He wanted to play. I
Still
guarantee. I guarantee you, he wanted to dunk.
right.
Can't.
He can. He can in that. In designing that game, he could design the player that he saw himself as. However, virtually it is achieved.
Right.
You can
So
still
he.
and see, and the thing is that goal that you adjust, it adjusts for what you want, right? So
Mhm.
you could say now, all right, cool. He can't dunk because he can't physically do it, but he could be 100% satisfied with the fact that he designed the game the way he was able to design a player that would mimic him and his thoughts of what he wanted to do, and in that I have achieved my goal.
Okay, got you. So, but the thing is this: he had to reposition himself. So
Yeah.
what he wanted in the beginning, that didn't work out. So he had to find something else. It may have been in the same arena,
Hmm.
but it ain't the same thing.
Well, it
There's a
doesn't.
huge difference between designing it and doing it.
There is a huge difference in it, but the achievement is still that in some way, shape, or form, he achieved what it is that he wanted to achieve, even beyond the limitations that were unforeseen but very real. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
but by your logic, he should want this bad enough for him to make his legs work
No,
and get into the NBA.
no, because I'm
Because
not. I didn't
so
know because
if he got paralyzed and he didn't will himself to walk again or to play or to run again, then he didn't want it bad enough.
not true. Because again, I'm not. I have no debate for the need to pivot. I have no debate for the need to adjust, right? But because again, that's for that person. I'm not saying if you're saying you got to be in the NBA or the NBA, first of all, is not just basketball players. We just happen to be using that specific example. But if he wanted to be associated with the NBA, however, there's other ways to do that. But what I'm saying is, if he shifts it to say, okay, this situation, being a basketball player by physically showing up on the court is no longer possible. How can I still be a basketball player? I can be a virtual reality basketball player. And he still has achieved what it is that he wanted to get to because somehow, some way, I'm gonna make this happen. Plain and simple. Somehow,
Okay.
some way, I'm gonna make this happen.
All right. So going back to the example of that woman, that young lady that wanted me,
Hmm.
she repositions herself. If she finds somebody that she feels looks like me or acts like me or reminds her enough of me, she's
Hmm.
repositioned herself. Is she now successful in what she was trying to accomplish?
Well, again, that's up to her. You know what I mean? That's up to her. Because see, the thing is, this is not just it's not just a black and white literal statement, right? She looked okay. She wanted you. She could simply have backed up from the situation and looked at him like, okay, what is it about this cat? What is it about him that I want? What am I truly looking for in my pursuit of him? And she found out what she really is looking for and may find out plain and simple. It might not be just in Terrell. You know what I mean? But I cannot accept. And you gave, earlier you spoke in reference to the lesson for the children. Why is it a good lesson for the children, but not a reality for an adult?
It's a good lesson for the children because children don't process failure the way adults process it. Success or failure. You got to understand, children for the most part are successful at everything they do. I
Says
mean,
who?
well, that's me. So because the thing is this, because the thing is this. A child, they want to play, they play. If they want to eat, they eat. They need to go to sleep. They may fight it, but they go to sleep. The things that
Mhm.
they want, their necessities, they always get those things. They get those things. So when you get older, then when you start trying to achieve things and it's not working. See, when you're a child, people handle you with care. They don't want they don't want to introduce failure to you. So children don't process failure the same way adults process failure. So it's easy to tell a kid, listen, you keep going after whatever it is that you want. You've been successful at everything that you've ever wanted. You've been successful. So keep pushing, keep doing that. Now, as you become an adult, you realize, okay, it's not the way life is set up. You still, you have, that there's failure. You try to do things and you don't succeed. But if you have that mentality, if those seeds are planted in a child's mind, when they get older, they may still have that desire. You know what? I'm going to keep going. So no matter so even if I want this and I want this bad and I'm going after this and it doesn't work out, cool. I'm on to the next thing. It's still not necessarily looked at as failure because the way you look at when you plant the proper seeds, you don't necessarily look at things as failure. It's like I wasn't supposed to succeed at this. Let me go succeed at something else. This
I,
would have been in the way of what I'm really supposed to succeed at. So let me go ahead and get this out the way now.
well, first of all, you would also have to have had to come to the conclusion that I don't really want this. And if you gonna move it out the way, you would have to come to that conclusion. But going back to the
No. It's not that I don't want this; it's that I can't have this.
nah. Well, hold on. Let's back up because I got 6 children, and none of them will tell you that they were successful at everything at any point in their life. Children they experience failure and disappointment as easily as the rest of us. On a
What
that's a human that's the human condition.
but as children, when they were, I mean, you have some that are adults and some that are still kids. But the ones that are kids, and even the ones that are adults, can they say that as kids they experience that they can tell you what failure is?
I can pull a 9-year-old in here right now. She can tell you where she's been
Yo,
upset
yo, yo,
about
bring her
failure.
in there. Yo, bring her in right now, man. Yo, wake her up. I don't care if she got school tomorrow. Wake her up.
They know what it is. She just got a she got a C in I think it was math, and she was like, I don't
Is
know
that
what's going
failure
on
though?
here.
That's not failure.
No, no,
Yo,
no. It's
yo,
failure if you wanted an A.
champion begins with C. So,
No, but if you wanted an A, right, and you got that C, they know what disappointment is. You know these.
yo,
And
there's a
there
difference
was
between disappointment and failure, though. There's a difference between those two.
no. You figure there is a difference. Is I mean, since we talk about how kids process, and even if it is a difference, you know what? Forget that. If we're talking about how kids process, even if there is a difference, they still know what it is to do both. They still wouldn't know what it is to do both. My 7-year-old, when he shoots about the ball at his basketball hoop and he misses it, first thing out of his mouth, oh, because he knows what it is. He didn't achieve what it is he wanted to do. And then he shoots and he shoots and he shoots. When he makes it, now he's screaming at the top of his lungs because he wanted it bad enough and he got it. And it processed as success. And see, that's another thing in reference to the children. If a child can process success, why can they not process failure? It's the
Because
other side of the same coin.
yeah, but see, I don't think that they're necessarily processing failure. They're processing it as not yet, not yet, not yet, not yet. Ah, success.
Okay, and that's exactly what we're talking about. Honestly, because if you want it bad enough, then you're not processing it as failure. Or you're looking at each failure. Because my mother used to tell me fail forward, right? So the more often you fail, the greater the evidence of you trying. You know, like what's the cat that actually invented the light bulb? I think he tried like 1,000 ways to come up with a light bulb. He only had to
Wait,
come up with
Thomas Edison?
only had to come up with one that worked.
Was it Thomas Edison?
So he did it. I just asked you the question. You know, I don't know.
We can't. We cannot. We need to want this bad enough to know what it is. We can't sit here on this podcast. We are two extremely intelligent people. We
Look here.
cannot sit here and question who invented the light bulb. I'm pretty sure it's Thomas Edison.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what, because I wanted bad enough, and it was Thomas Edison per Google.
There we go. All right.
Good thing I wanted that bad enough, otherwise we would not know. And that's all I'm saying. So I cannot tell my children, yo, right up until you get 12 years old, you are a success at everything that you do. I'm just throwing a number out there. After this, at this age, you're gonna have to start processing failure and success and the difference between the two. Nah, because that don't even make sense. They know what it is simply even when they learn to walk. You know what I mean? Even when they're learning to walk, they are celebrating just in that moment. Like, and they can barely comprehend the English language at that point. Actually, I digress because some doctor would certainly refute that, and they just can't regurgitate. And so I won't say that, right? But what I am saying is that they know what it is at that point. So, yeah, I don't. I mean, because what do you then say to a person? And so, and I will say this. That people say, like, what's the difference between faith and false hope, right? Because people believe, okay, like you saying, oh, that's just not for me. That's just not for me. The difference between faith and false hope is the decision. Are you going to decide to have faith and really believe? Or are you just holding on to something that you truly have no belief in, that you really don't believe you can make it? That's false hope.
I mean, I think that depends on your perception of what the reality is. And going back again, I hate to keep going back to this example, but going back to that example of that young lady that wanted me, her reality was she had faith in the fact that she was going to get me. I knew it was false hope.
But she stopped.
Yeah, because I made her stop. She had to realize that regardless of how bad you want this, you are not going to get it.
She didn't want it bad enough, and you did. She didn't want to continue bad enough, and you wanted it to stop bad enough.
She wanted me bad.
She didn't. She didn't.
But you know what though? I'm gonna tell you something though. And I'm mad because I can't remember. There was something that you said, and I can't remember exactly what it said, what it was. I'm just gonna talk. Maybe it'll come back to me. But
in this episode today, since we've been talking,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I ain't gonna talk about nothing that we talked about on the phone the other day, nothing like that, because they don't know. They don't know what we were talking about.
I didn't know if you were making a historical reference, but go ahead.
No. So, but I think that the way that I think a lot of my viewpoints on this particular matter has to do with how I look at both success and failure. So, for me, I think we were talking about kids. And they're them not me saying that they have been successful at everything. So you got to understand, like with me, the way I look at it is with failure is a choice. Failure is when you give up. Failure is when you don't give it your all. I don't ever look at, like, even if you don't succeed at what you're trying to do, I don't look at that as failure as long as you gave it your all. As long as you had this burning desire and you wanted it and you put your all into it, you did not fail. You may not have won. And that's why, like, even when I was coaching, I would tell, like with football, with boxing, whatever, whenever I was a coach, I would tell them, I said, you got those two categories. You got that W and you got that L. that W stands for win, that L stands for learn.
It
It does
does.
not stand for lose, because as long as you give it your all, as long as you put your all into this and you never give up, you didn't lose. All you did was learn how to win. That's it.
Now, I mean, I can appreciate the perspective of a motivational speaker. All right. But just for the reality of that situation, if you did learn, you know what you learned? You learned that the winner walks away with the trophy, right?
Yeah.
Because you can definitely take on a perspective of I either win or I learn. That is when if you are talking about learning, you are learning from the failure. Because your goal was to win. That was your goal. So, what is the definition of failure?
Yes. Let's look that up. Now, when you look up the definition of failure, it's probably going to completely contradict everything that I just said. And I'm completely okay with that.
Lack of
But
success.
but
That's what it
okay,
says. Lack of success.
perfect. Actually, that's perfect, because check this out. If my definition of success is to give my all, now my definition of success may also include winning. But if part of my definition of success is to give my all and to never give up, then I didn't fail.
Um, you didn't only fail. You
No,
succeeded
no,
in one.
I didn't fail. I may not have won, but I didn't fail.
Okay, so this conversation doesn't need to happen with the cat that won.
No, it doesn't.
Because he succeeded in every lane he was working to succeed in. So he worked hard enough, and he
Mhm.
did. And the evidence that he worked hard enough, the evidence for him that he gave it his all, for real, for real. And excuse me, not evidence, not just the evidence of that, but he gave it his all, and he won. Those are the two ways, the two things he was going to achieve. I'm gonna put it
Right.
all out here, and it's gonna get me the W. The cat that took the L, he took a loss, plain and simple.
Yeah,
You
but
learn now. You learn from it. So that's the whole,
exactly.
making lemonade out of lemons. Okay, cool.
Mhm.
I get that
Lemonade
because
is good.
what you say?
Lemonade is good.
Lemonade is dope, especially if you make it correctly. Not too sweet, just a little bit of tart on the end.
You
Yeah,
know what I'm
it's
saying?
super dope. But
Especially
also,
people doing like different flavors and stuff now. Like, man, it's
but what I'm saying is, you still, a matter of fact, an individual that sees himself as either winning or learning is the same cat that's not quitting, right? So
good.
ultimately, he wants it bad enough because he has decided that failure is not only an option. You basically saying failure ain't even a word. I either won or I learned, and because I learned, I still won. I didn't get the trophy, but I still won
Right,
because
but
I.
but that's his perspective. But there's a completely different perspective on the other side. And if you have somebody whose perspective is, I didn't lose, I may not have won, but I didn't lose, and I'm not going to walk away feeling like a loser, because I understand that a loser is somebody who does not give their all, somebody who does not want it bad enough, somebody who gives up. I understand that's what a loser is, and if that's not what I did, then I'm not a loser. I may not have won,
Right.
but I'm going to walk away feeling like I can still win.
Right, but not like a winner. and
Fine.
the thing is, that's fine because you
Hmm.
still have decided that you want it bad enough
Hmm.
that this L that you took, you've decided to not allow it to mean lose, but to mean learn because you want it bad enough. A person that does not want it bad enough is going to take that L
Hmm.
and it's going to break him down. It's going to stop him.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? There's nothing. There's nothing. What can I stop you from? What can I stop you from doing that you really want to do? Really? Yo, really?
I mean, so I'm gonna tell you part of the reason that this show is so good, great. I was about to say good, but great. Is because you were very black and white, and I live in the gray area.
You do live in the gray area, and I
I do.
gained from that. I gained from that in many an instance. I do.
and,
I,
but and I gained from you being black and white because you, of course, you kind of open my eyes to certain things. You make me see things in a very black and white way,
mhm.
even from the gray area. And I know that I do that, in turn for you.
Right.
So, but it just makes this it's almost like a debate show. Like this is
Well, it is right to some degree. It is definitely a debate because, but see, that's exactly how you break the whole situation open. Because what's the point of us if we gonna get in here and just agree with each other? One of us don't need to show up for the episode.
or the show is going to be 3 minutes.
Exactly. I mean, and you can look at it from a couple of different perspectives. You know what I'm saying? You can speak on it by yourself from a couple of different perspectives. But even then, having it don't have to be an opposition. It could just be a different. And that's what we talked about before. We don't have to be in conflict. It could just be
Right.
contrast of perspective,
Hmm.
right? And so, that is definitely why it's great because most situations I would say the mass majority of people either fall into a person that can respect the gray or a person that leans more towards the black and white situation. It's just them two categories. I don't think there's pretty much anything outside of that.
Hmm.
But yeah, we dig it, we learn from it, and I don't have to like everything that I think is not obviously correct and right all the time, right? So because sometimes stuff that you point out in that gray, but because I want that understanding bad enough, I am open to that gray. You know what I'm saying? And it's been exploring that gray because I need to know this better. I
Right.
want it bad enough. And so,
And vice
yeah,
versa. Yeah.
see, and I don't think Cat can. I think that's just true. Now, like I said, there's definitely a line to be crossed, and the situation can get really ridiculous,
Hmm.
right? It can get really ridiculous, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about cats that just will push and stop at nothing. I think it was like what commercial it was that I saw the other day where it was these two brothers. They were I think they were like long distance skiers or something like that. They were going for the Olympics. Matter of
Hmm.
fact, it was a multi event situation that they were going for. And then one of the brothers, he had some type of degenerative issue with his eyes, and he lost his eyesight. So now the brother that can see, he's running in the front. The brother that can't is right in his step. The dude in front is saying tree, tree, tree. They're running through the woods. And because he's become his eyes because they wanted it bad enough. And they ended up being like 10 time or 7 time gold medalists in I think the what they call it, the Paralympics, I think is what it's called. But they wanted it bad enough. Man, Helen Keller. You know who Helen Keller is, right?
Yeah.
Dude, why do we even know who she is?
Because she
She was
wanted it bad enough.
she was exactly, dude. She was blind. Well, she was blind. Um, what, blind, mute, and deaf, or something like that. Maybe she wasn't all three. That's a
Yeah, I
hell of
don't,
a
I don't,
trifecta.
I don't know if she was all three.
That's a hell of a trifecta there, boy. I'm trying to tell you.
That's
But
a hell of a trifecta right there.
I'm just saying. And she was an author.
Hmm.
So let me see. I don't know exactly what her. Oh, okay. Apparently she could. I guess she could speak, or yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, so her first word apparently was water or something like that. Okay, so maybe it was just, but anyway, what I'm saying is she dealt with what could be in many cases considered insurmountable circumstances,
Hmm.
and she overcame them. So now we know who she is because she wanted it bad enough. She wanted to overcome whatever the obstacle was bad enough.
Hmm. And some people, but also, I think that also goes back to God's plan.
Well,
Like she
I mean, if
needed
you
to have that story for that wasn't just for her, that was for other people, and that was God's plan. But
okay, I
as
mean,
bad as I wanted to play basketball, that wasn't God's plan.
but that doesn't mean that it couldn't have happened for you.
No, no, if it's not God's plan, it ain't happening.
No,
We
it doesn't. It doesn't mean that it couldn't have happened for you because you know why I say that, because people like, for instance, Canton Jones or
mhm,
Willie was Willie Moore Jr. Both of them cats
mhm,
R&B contracts to sing R&B music.
mhm,
It's happening. I'm in the office. The
mhm,
contract is in front of me. I just
mhm,
have to sign it, right?
mhm,
But so I'm thinking that what I really want is to be this star, to be this R&B star.
mhm.
Then you get to that situation and now you're convicted and you can't sign that contract because the truth of the matter is what you wanted more was God. In this situation here, that's also what he wanted for you. So the fact that your plans and your steps align with God's, all right, cool. You know what I mean? But it's not
Yeah,
always going to happen like that. But
but at the moment, they didn't know that that's what they wanted. They
that's what
wanted they wanted the R&B. They wanted the R&B contracts. And then God was like, so, and that goes back to what I was saying. Like, it doesn't matter how badly you want something, God is going to step in the way and be like, nah, this ain't gonna happen for you. He's going to throw whatever obstacles to try to. He's going to put obstacles in your way that's going to veer you off that path and make you go in the direction of the path that He has intended for you.
just because you have a destination, that don't make that a nonstop flight. That's why you have free will. You may eventually get to where it is that God, well, not may. You're gonna get where he intends for you to be, but that don't mean that that's the only place you're gonna get. That don't mean that.
Right?
Yeah, I
But
mean
that doesn't
that's
mean that you're going to get what you want or what you think you want.
well, I'm saying if you want it bad enough. Matter of fact, have you seen that uh the documentary with Kaepernick on
Yeah,
Netflix?
yeah. Mhm.
So he played baseball much better, apparently, than he played
Right.
football, but he was determined, I'm gonna be a quarterback.
Mhm.
Did he become a quarterback?
Yeah, absolutely. But
Is he
see,
a quarterback now?
the thing, no,
Hold on. Is he a
he's
quarterback now?
no,
Nope.
no,
Nope.
no.
Because ultimately that wasn't what God had for him. But that don't
Mhm.
mean he didn't get it. And so that's what I'm saying. You have a destination, but it's not a non-stop flight. You're gonna have layovers. You're gonna make other stops in the route because that's what your free will is gonna have you to do in reference to your will or your situation versus what God would have for you.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? That's just the truth of the matter. But his ultimate destination is not gonna be your only stop. By no
Yeah,
means. So
right. But it doesn't mean that you're always going to get everything that you want. So before we start talking in circles,
right.
I think because we've been talking about an hour 3 minutes now.
It's all right. It's all right.
So
I wanted to go for at least an hour. I wanted it bad enough. So
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, it's a good thing I wanted it bad enough too, because I don't know how it would have turned out if I didn't.
I was making you want it bad enough anyway. See, that's what I'm talking about. You know, what I mean? You just you do what you got to do if you want it bad enough. So right now, see, like right now, you about to just cut this short because you wanted just time for the episode to end, and you wanted it bad enough, and you didn't even have to express it. You wanted it bad enough just now. You projected it, and I just said it.
You're right. You're right. And you sitting there, you talking, gave me the chance to pull up the quote for next week because I wasn't ready. I had to I had to pull up this quote.
Cool. Well, I'll tell you what. So where we landing at as far as this first quote is concerned is that I stand on my belief. Anything you don't want, you don't want. Excuse me, you don't have, you don't want bad enough. And Tyrell does not believe that, and that's fine. Okay, that's fine.
Nah.
But what we do want to do before we go, give you an idea of what we will be speaking on next week. As we go back and forth with the quotes, we come up with one. I come up with one. He comes up with another. It is his turn. So, Mr. James, what is it that you have for us?
So the quote for next week is a quote by Harvey Dent from Batman.
Oh boy.
And that is, you either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
You either die a hero or you live long enough. Wow.
See yourself become the villain.
Okay.
Now, some people may say, no, Jay-Z said that. Jay-Z got it from Batman. Or he got it from Harvey Dent. But yes, Jay-Z did say that as well. But it was a quote from Batman. So
gotcha. Well, I'm looking forward to that one. I think I'm
Yeah. And hey, shout out to Jay-Z too.
I mean, I guess, unless he took it from Batman. You know what I mean?
I mean, shout out to Jay-Z in case he wants to put our podcast on Tidal.
Oh yeah, word out.
Yeah.
He probably didn't even laugh at that.
No, he probably did. He probably
did.
But I'm just about the phone just in case.
Well, it's not all about Jay. No worries. If that's where we want to go, because we want it bad enough, we will get there, sir. Okay.
Absolutely. Now that we can agree on.
All right, man. It's time for us to go ahead and wrap this up.
Yes, absolutely.
You know what? I meant to watch what you did last week. I think it was just right?
No. That's back when we were amateurs. That was a couple shows ago.
Right.
No. So first we just tell everybody. First we thank everybody for joining us.
Indeed.
Yeah, let them know we appreciate them, sharing their time with us. But we end with, and on that note, and I quote, peace out.
Hit the button, man.
I am. I'm working with a different computer, so